Every year, there's some new Halloween costume that sparks controversy and makes the internet explode in righteous anger. And this year, some liberal blogs are angry over the Ebola costume. So it's sold by the retailer Brands on Sale, and what it really is just leftover 2013 Breaking Bad costumes that they decided to slap on the word Ebola in the corner of the suit, like by the chest area. It's basically a hazmat suit. Okay, so here's the question. Does it make sense or not to get angry over the Ebola costume? Now, I have to say, man, I'm not. I mean, I could sit here and try to work myself up into anger over it, but it's wasted emotion, in my opinion. Now, don't get me wrong. That doesn't mean I don't have sympathy for the people who were affected by it, and that doesn't mean that it's not one of the scariest diseases out there in terms of what it does to you, okay? But in terms of anger over something like this, to me, this is the epitome of PC outrage. You know, Marr calls it fake outrage. Everybody picks one thing, latches onto it, and just says, that's wrong, and it makes me feel good to take a stand for this. But there are other things you can and should take a stand for, but oftentimes people are lazy in the sense that they don't want to really get into policy detail and nuance to learn what's actually fucked up in the world. Like in America, for example, the fact that our entire political system is an oligarchy and it's run by legalized bribes. Yeah, that's what you should be angry over, not the this Ebola costume. And people would fire back and say, well, it's not an either or. And that's true. But I think my point is, granted that it's not an either or, but if you were to prioritize shit to be mad at, an Ebola costume should be very, very low on the list. Now, it's fine to be uncomfortable with it. It's fine to think that's tasteless. Of course you could think that. There's no problem with that. But in terms of caring enough, like, Think Progress had an article on it. Like, like, that's like, you just, to me, it's almost like you're wasting your time in doing that. Now, let's go a little deeper here, though, because this whole question about costumes gets more and more interesting when you bring up different cases. So let's give a few right here. There was one example where I think it was more legitimate to get a little upset at. People who dressed as the Boston bombing marathon victims. Oh God. Okay. Yeah, see, that's even me, Mr. Lover of free speech, absolutist guy here. Yeah, even I cringe when I see that, and I think it's so tasteless. Am I going to throw you in jail for wearing it? Of course not, but it's gross, okay? And then, you know, there was examples, I think we did a story a while back of people going as Zimmerman and Trayvon. Oh, God. And the Trayvon costume, guy was holding an iced tea, and he had blood stain on his shirt. Oh, no, stop. Okay. Yeah, that's also beyond tasteless. That's terrible. Again, am I going to throw you in jail? No, because I actually believe in freedom of speech, but I'm fine with social outrage in that situation. But then, see, it gets weird in certain circumstances because, okay, pirate costumes. Well, pirates raped and murdered and were marauding barbaric savages. But what, since it's been long enough away from them, from when that happened, now it's okay to dress like a pirate? But I mean, they did what they did, okay? So why is that not outrageous? Or compare that to a Native American costume. For some reason, people, you know, at least when I was young, there were plenty of examples of people who would dress as a Native American. It's like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that. You're a little white boy, and we were responsible for slaughtering that entire community and, you know, doing genocide. It's almost like, you know, a Nazi dressing as a Jew, right? It's like, oh, no, why'd you go there? But for whatever reason, people look at that and they go, okay, that's cool. That's fine. It's like, how do we come up with these standards? Here, let me give you another example. This one blows my mind, too. If you dress up as like a Taliban style, in a Taliban style look, what do people do? Not much. I mean, maybe there'll be a little bit of outrage, but really, I haven't seen like big-time outrage over it. But if you get more specific and you make it Bin Laden, then all of a sudden, oh, no, how outrageous. So I think, to me, the really interesting conversation to have is how can we be so irrational and subjective? Because we are. Culturally, individually, where we say that's okay, that's not okay. So it's okay to dress as the Taliban, but if you dress as the KKK, whoa. You see what I mean? There's these weird unwritten rules and social mores that leads us in certain directions and not in others, and certain things are, fucked up but okay, and certain things are fucked up and not okay. So to me, look, I think my main point on it is, as much as we can, give the benefit of the doubt to the person or the costume in question. As much as we can. Now, am I saying that there aren't some things that cross the line? Sure, they cross the line. But in those really fringe cases, again, nobody should look to censor them or ban them. I'm fine with a little bit of social media humiliation. But in all seriousness, it should be so rare, because the more leeway, the better for the most part, because sometimes we lean too heavily on the side of press the outrage button first and then realize later that we're kind of hypocrites.